I thought belittling my husband's career on social media would make me look successful. Now he's gone, and I'm watching his life get better without me. Okay, I know I screwed up. Royally. I can't wrap my head around how it all imploded overnight. How one monumentally stupid, insignificant post could detonate a 7-year relationship. Reed's been gone for 3 days. His side of the bed is cold and unnervingly neat. The silence in this apartment is deafening. It's a physical weight pressing down on me. I keep picking up my phone, my thumb hovering over his name in my contacts, knowing it's useless. Blocked. Everything is blocked. Instagram, Facebook, even his damn LinkedIn profile. It's like he's surgically removed himself from my digital life, and the real life part followed. I'm sitting here, in the dark, scrolling through our old photos, and my brain is just doing this painful loop. I know what I did was wrong. I'm not an idiot. But was it this wrong? Was it burn everything to the ground and never speak to me again? Wrong. I feel like I'm losing my mind trying to reconcile the man I loved with the cold stranger who walked out that door without a second glance. So Reddit, I guess I need you to be the jury. Tell me, am I the complete monster he now sees me as, or did he just throw our entire life away over a joke? Please, just tell me. To understand how I could be so stupid, you have to understand us. Or, at least, the version of us I sold to the world. I'm Kennedy, a senior account director at a top-tier advertising agency in the city. My life is a curated carousel of client dinners, product launches, and rooftop cocktails with people whose net worth could solve a small country's debt crisis. It's a world built on perception, where success isn't just about the work you do, but the image you project. Everything is transactional. Marriages are strategic mergers, friendships are networking opportunities. It's competitive, it's exhausting, and I'm damn good at it. And then there was Reed. My Reed, a public high school history teacher. When we met 7 years ago, that was the most magnetic thing about him. He was this brilliant, passionate man who existed entirely outside my glittering, superficial world. He smelled like old books and chalk dust, not Tom Ford cologne. I remember our first real date. Instead of some trendy, overpriced restaurant, he took me on a walking tour of the city's oldest district. He didn't just point out buildings. He made them breathe. He told me stories of the people who lived and died on those streets, making the cold stone feel alive with triumphs and tragedies. He talked about the fall of the Roman Empire with more fire than any CEO I'd ever heard pitching a Series B funding round. He was real, a grounding force in my often insane life. He was my anchor. But anchors, by their nature, don't move. My career, however, was a rocket ship. With every promotion, every eye-watering bonus, I was pulled deeper into a social circle that operated on a different set of values. Here, your worth was measured by your title, your stock options, and the zip code of your vacation home. Their partners were all cut from the same cloth. Surgeons, venture capitalists, corporate lawyers. When the inevitable, "So, what does your husband do?" question came up at parties, I'd watch their polite smiles tighten ever so slightly when I said, "He's a teacher." You could almost see the mental calculation in their eyes, the subtle recalibration of my own status. "Oh, that's noble," they'd say, which is rich people code for quaint and financially irrelevant. The follow-up questions were worse, dripping with condescension. "Does he get summers off? That must be so relaxing for him." At a brunch once, my friend Charlotte, whose husband had just closed a 9-figure merger, listened to me talk about Reed's excitement over a new curriculum he was developing and said, with a pitying little head tilt, "It's so sweet that he has his little passions." I loved Reed. I truly did. But a toxic little seed of shame began to sprout in the dark corners of my mind. I started seeing him through their eyes. His favorite worn-out corduroy blazer wasn't endearingly academic anymore. It was just shabby. His enthusiasm for his students' small victories felt insignificant compared to the multi-million-dollar campaigns I was managing. I began to feel a prickle of embarrassment. I was Kennedy, the rising star, and he was just a teacher. I became terrified of being seen as the woman who had settled, the one who was carrying her partner. And that fear, that insidious need for validation from people I didn't even truly like, is what started the poison drip. It started innocently enough. Or at least, That's the lie I told myself. It began as a defense mechanism, a way to preemptively control the narrative in my social circle. I decided that if I was the one making the jokes about our financial disparity, then they couldn't pity me. It was a power move, I thought. My own little social media PR campaign. The first post was after a particularly brutal brunch with my friends. I'd spent 2 hours listening to them discuss ski chalets in Aspen and bidding wars on private school admissions. I felt small, and my life with Reed felt provincial. That night, fueled by insecurity and a glass of overpriced wine, I posted a picture of my laptop, a half-eaten salad, and the city lights twinkling outside my office window. The timestamp was 11:47 p.m. The caption, "Burning the midnight oil so at least one of us can pursue their noble calling. You're welcome, babe. Winking face, girl boss provider life." It was meant to be ironic, a playful jab. But the validation was instant and intoxicating. The likes poured in. Charlotte commented, "You are an absolute rock star, Ken. Seriously." Another friend, Bianca, added, "Tell me about it. We have to support their dreams, right?" LOL. I felt a disgusting, thrilling rush of superiority. I wasn't the woman with the teacher husband. I was the magnanimous benefactor. Reed saw it the next morning. He didn't yell. That was never his style. He just quietly slid his phone across the kitchen island to me while I was making coffee. The silence was heavy, broken only by the drip of the machine. "What is this, Kennedy?" he asked, his voice low and steady. There was no anger, just a deep, unnerving current of hurt that was far worse. "It's a joke, Reed, a stupid joke. You know how my friends are." "I know how they are," he said, looking at me directly, and for the first time I felt like he was seeing a stranger. "I just didn't think you were one of them. My work isn't a noble calling in quotation marks. It's my work, and I don't like being the punchline for your friends." A sane person would have stopped. I apologized, of course. I said all the right words. "You're right, I'm sorry, it was dumb, it won't happen again." But it was a lie. Because minutes after he left for school, I was on the phone with Charlotte, complaining about how sensitive he was. And she gave me exactly the poison I wanted to hear. "Oh, honey," she cooed, "men get weird about money. You're the provider, and that's amazing. Don't let him make you feel bad for your success." Her words were the permission slip my ego needed. I didn't stop, I just got more subtle, more insidious. I posted a photo from a Michelin star restaurant. "Date night. So happy I can treat this hardworking man to something nice." The subtext was always the same. "I pay for this. This is my success." I posted pictures from our trip to Italy, a trip I'd paid for entirely. "Giving my favorite historian a real-life history lesson," I wrote, framing him as my student, my ward, not my partner. The comment sections became my echo chamber. "He's so lucky to have you," they'd write, and I'd reply with a winking emoji. When Bianca wrote, "I bet he loves those long summer breaks," I replied, "Someone has to be around to sign for my Net-a-Porter packages." Haha, each comment was a small betrayal, a little paper cut on the soul of our marriage. Reed stopped asking about my posts. The easy conversation about our days began to dry up. He'd still tell me about his students, but the passion in his voice was guarded, as if he was afraid I'd turn his genuine joy into another piece of online content. I knew it, too. I saw the growing distance. There were moments, late at night, after I'd hit post, that a wave of cold guilt would wash over me. I'd look at him sleeping beside me and feel like a complete fraud. But then my phone would light up with a notification. A like from Charlotte, a laughing emoji from another colleague, and the guilt would be washed away by that warm, stupid glow of acceptance. I was one of them. I was winning. I was so busy winning a game that Reed never even knew we were playing. The nail in the coffin wasn't a gradual thing. It was a single, catastrophic blow, delivered by my own hand. For the past 2 years, Reed had been pouring his heart and soul into a project outside of his regular teaching duties. It was a deep dive into our city's forgotten industrial history, a project aimed at creating a digital archive for students. He spent countless weekends in dusty library basements and city archives, fueled by cheap coffee and a genuine passion for preserving the past. It was his baby. A few weeks ago, he got the news. He'd secured a major grant from the State Historical Society, a significant sum that would not only fund the project for the next 5 years, but also came with the State Educator of the Year award. He was ecstatic. He came home that night practically vibrating with joy, his eyes shining in a way I hadn't seen in months. He held the letter in his hand like it was a holy relic. "We did it, Ken. They loved the proposal. The whole thing is funded," he said, pulling me into a hug. "They're giving me the award at a reception next month." He was so proud. This wasn't just about the money. It was validation from a world he respected, a testament to the value of his work, the very work I had been so casually belittling. And in that moment, seeing his pure, unadulterated happiness, my first thought, my sick, twisted, immediate first thought, was, how can I spin this for Instagram? I didn't even let him have his moment. I took the ornate, slightly tacky glass award he'd brought home, arranged it on our marble countertop next to a bottle of champagne, and snapped a picture. My fingers flew across the keyboard, the caption forming in my head with practiced ease. It was my masterpiece of passive-aggressive condescension. So proud of my hubby for getting a little spending money for his cute hobby. He can finally buy all the dusty old books his heart desires. So happy for him. Winking face Teacher Life Simple Joys Passion Project. I hit post. The words hung there on the screen, dripping with a smug, dismissive poison that I, in my arrogant blindness, thought was clever. It reduced his greatest professional achievement to a cute hobby. It turned a prestigious grant into a little spending money. It belittled his passion, and by extension, his entire identity. It was the ultimate betrayal, delivered with a winking emoji. He saw it about 10 minutes later. I was in the living room, already basking in the first few likes trickling in. He walked in from the kitchen, holding his phone. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't throw anything. The silence that preceded his words was the most terrifying sound I have ever heard. It was the sound of something essential breaking. He just stood there in the middle of the room and looked at me. Not with anger, but with a profound, soul-crushing disappointment that made my blood run cold. It was the look you give someone you don't recognize anymore. "My work is not a hobby, Kennedy," he said. His voice was unnaturally calm, each word delivered with surgical precision. "That grant, that award, that is the culmination of years of work I was proud of. Work I thought you were proud of. Read, come on," it was a celebratory post. "I was bragging about you." The words sounded hollow and absurd even as I said them. He gave a short, bitter laugh that had no humor in it. "No, you weren't bragging about me. You were using me. You were using my achievement as another prop in the little stage play you perform for your friends. You've been doing it for months." I saw the other posts. "I'm not an idiot." He held up his phone, the screen glowing with my pathetic caption. "This wasn't a celebration. This was a public humiliation. You stood in front of everyone you know and patted me on the head like a child who'd won a blue ribbon at the county fair." He took a deep breath, and it felt like the whole room deflated with him. "I can handle you not understanding my world. I can even handle you being more successful than me. What I can't handle, what I will not live with, is being with someone who is fundamentally ashamed of me. Someone who feels the need to belittle my life's work to make herself feel bigger." He didn't wait for me to argue or cry or beg. He just said, with a finality that echoed in the sudden emptiness of the room, "I cannot build a life with a person I can no longer trust or respect. We're done." He turned and walked into the bedroom. I was frozen, paralyzed by the sheer speed of the collapse. I could hear drawers opening and closing, a suitcase unzipping. 10 minutes later, he walked out with a single duffel bag over his shoulder. He didn't look at me. He just walked to the door, paused for a second, and said, "I'll arrange to get the rest of my things later." And then he was gone. The door clicked shut. I stood there, phone in my hand, staring at the screen. Charlotte had just commented on my post. "OMG, congrats to him. You're such a supportive wife." Read, I felt a wave of nausea so intense I had to grab the back of the sofa to keep from falling. Before I could even process what to do next, a notification popped up. "Reed has unfollowed you," then another. "You have been blocked." One by one, the digital doors slammed shut. It was over. The first 24 hours were a blur of panicked denial. This was a fight. A bad one, sure, but just a fight. He'd cool off. He'd realize he was overreacting. I called him a dozen times, each call going straight to voicemail. I sent a flood of frantic, rambling texts that went from apologetic, "I'm so sorry, I'll delete it, I'll do anything," to indignant, "Are you seriously throwing everything away over one stupid post?" And back again. They all remained undelivered. When the digital wall proved impenetrable, I turned to our human connections. I called our closest mutual friend, David. His wife answered, her voice immediately strained and awkward. "Oh, hey Kennedy, now's not a great time." I could hear David whispering in the background. She finally just said, "Listen, I think you two need to sort this out yourselves. We don't want to get in the middle." Click. Getting in the middle was exactly what I wanted. I needed an ally, someone to tell Reed he was being crazy. Instead, I got a dial tone. Desperate, I turned to my own friends, the very audience I had worked so hard to impress. I called Charlotte, sobbing, and explained the whole situation. Her response was the coldest, most terrifying dose of reality I could have imagined. There was no sympathy. No, he'll come around. Just a breezy, dismissive, "Well, honestly, Ken, maybe it's for the best. He was always holding you back a little, don't you think? Now you can find someone on your level." Her words hit me like a physical slap. She wasn't my friend. She was just a spectator who had enjoyed the show. The life I had so carefully curated, the persona I had built at the expense of my marriage, was a house of cards. And the people I had built it for didn't give a damn that it was collapsing around me. They weren't going to help me pick up the pieces. In their eyes, Reed was just a disposable accessory, and now that he was gone, it was simply time to upgrade. I had sacrificed the only person who truly saw me, who loved me for who I was behind the job title and the designer clothes, all for the approval of a shallow, transactional clique that saw me as one of them only as long as I kept performing. The performance was over, the lights were up, and I was utterly, terrifyingly alone on an empty stage. Which brings me back to now. Back to the dark apartment and the cold glow of my phone's screen. After a day of digital silence, I did what any desperate, pathetic person in my position would do. I created a fake Instagram account. A burner. Just a random username with a stock photo of a sunset as the profile picture. My hands were shaking as I typed his name into the search bar. His profile was private, of course, but I remembered he was tagged in a post from the school's history club a while back. I found the club's page. It was public, and there, in their most recent post, was a picture. It was from 2 days ago, the day after he left me. It was a class field trip. Reed was standing with a group of his students in front of some historical landmark, a bronze statue of a forgotten general. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was laughing, mid-sentence, gesturing animatedly at the statue. The kids around him were rapt, hanging on his every word. He was wearing his favorite worn-out corduroy blazer, and on his face was a look of pure, unburdened joy. A look I realized with a sickening lurch in my stomach that I hadn't seen on him, truly seen, in a very long time. He looked free. There was no sign of heartbreak, no hint of the drama that had just ripped his life apart. He was just living. He was in his element, doing what he loved, surrounded by people who respected him for it. Every pixel of that photo was a silent testament to the fact that his world hadn't ended when ours did. It had just gotten quieter, better. And so this is my life now. This is my hell. I spend my nights scrolling through the social media feeds of strangers, his students, his colleagues, his distant cousins, searching for scraps of the life he's living without me. Each photo of him smiling is a fresh twist of the knife. He's at a family barbecue. He's grading papers in a coffee shop. He's just existing, beautifully and completely, outside of the toxic little bubble I created. I destroyed our marriage for the approval of an audience that has already forgotten me. And my punishment is a front row seat to the life of the man who was forced to save himself by leaving me behind. And all I can do is watch.